we have the pleasure today to welcome to our office Valerie Pisierra. She's the ED at Loudoun Cares. Valerie, thank you for being here.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm so excited for this. I'm a little nervous to be live, but I'm very excited to be here.
I did learn a lot about Valerie before this interview for like last 30 minutes. Amazing woman, Valerie.
That's
so now we know how people get to where they want to be. It's all about your heart and your passion of what you do. Can you tell us a little bit about you and how did you start with Loudoun Cares and what led you there?
Yeah, of course. So I am an Air Force wife. So we were overseas for 16 years. And I worked a lot in the nonprofit world just to keep my foot in the business world, right? So running nonprofits, working, doing all the school stuff and all that kind of stuff. So when we came here, I really wanted to work with a nonprofit, work with kids and that sort of thing. And so I was looking to volunteer. I've always volunteered as an Air Force wife. That's part of our lifestyle. And so I was looking for volunteer opportunities in Loudoun, and I found Loudoun Cares online, and they were actually advertising for a part-time person to run their youth program. At the time, it was called the Cloudmore Community Builders, which is now under Loudoun Youth. And so I applied and got it. And so that's kind of how I started. And then about a year later, one thing sort of led to another, and we were going through some transitions, and I ended up being ED. I'm not really sure how it happened. It was kind of a blur, but that's kind of how I got started. Yeah.
That is something you are very great on to get to there.
Yeah,
Don't you think you work so hard to get there? Aren't you? I think so. So, how long you been with them? And how long Loudoun Cares been? I mean, we know the name of the organization, but how long Loudoun Cares been? And talk to us a little bit also about Loudoun Cares. What do you do, guys? I know you do a lot. That is for sure.
Yeah.
Can you share with us, please?
Yeah. So Loudoun Cares itself. So I've been with Loudoun Cares since 2016, the summer 2016. But Loudoun Cares itself has been established since November of 2002. So originally, when we were established, a group of community leaders came together, and they wanted to create an organization that could support what was called a nonprofit center, right? Where nonprofits could come together, share rent, have stable rent, low stable rent, share resources, collaborate on cases and things like that. And so that was originally why we got started. About in 2004, that same sort of group of leaders came together and said, you know what, we really need a place for people to call to find out what's available out there, because you have someone calling Loudoun Hunger Relief or Interfaith at the time wanting a crib. Well, they don't deal in cribs, they deal in food. So they either have to stop what they're doing, find this person a crib, or they have to tell them, we don't do cribs, I don't know where you can go, right?
Yeah.
And so we were, at the time, there was a lot, and still is, a lot of grassroots nonprofits in Loudoun County, a lot of nonprofits that specialize in stuff. So they wanted a central line where people could call and get information, get referrals to programs, whether they were government programs or they were programs at a church or they were nonprofit programs, and just have a central place for that to happen. And so that's our Connect line sort of came from that conversation, and we started working with the other nonprofits in the county and things like that in 2004. And then in 2007, we did a study about civic participation in youth. And we found that there was not any programs at the time for youth unless they got in trouble, right? So it was like, now you do community service. So they came up with the Cloudmore Community Builders. They got a grant from the Cloudmore Charitable Foundation, and they created this group that got youth to think about civic participation as one element. So they would volunteer as a group, they would volunteer as individuals, they had certain goals that they needed, hours they needed to do. They did professional development, so like budgeting, right? Because they're going to go off to college, and you got to learn how to budget, right?
Absolutely.
So how do you, phone etiquette? How do you shake someone's hand? And how do all of these kinds of training, right? So that program was then created at that time. And then as we kind of moved forward and through, you know, the county changing, we ended up in 2014 absorbing Volunteer Loudoun, which like is your Volunteer Fairfax or Arlington. We just changed the name, right, to Volunteer Center. Always with the concept of supporting the whole community, right? We're an umbrella organization. So we don't do one specific thing. We do one specific thing, but not for one specific population, which is really hard to say live. But we try to support all of our nonprofits, right? So we do that through the Volunteer Center. So nonprofits can post, they have a profile, all our services are free. They can post on there, you know, who they are, what they do, you know, they can request volunteers, they can put up drives, they can request for board members, you know, that they need board members or whatever they need. And it's a way we kind of like call it the match.com, right?
Yeah.
The volunteering. Well, maybe
awesome.
I'm the only one that calls it that.
She's the Loudoun County connector.
Yes.
That's what it is about.
Yes.
That's
all right. You're
mission.
taking over our marketing. But yeah, I mean, we coordinate. We deal in information and connections. That on both sides of our house, right? Whether you're a volunteer wanting to know where to help, or a nonprofit saying, I need help, I need volunteers, right? That's on that side of our house. And then on the other side of our house is our Connect line, and that's where we connect residents with health and human services. So we build relationships with our nonprofits to know what their programs are. So we can refer somebody, right? And we know where to send them for food, where to send them for diapers, where do we send them for job services? You know, what about ESL classes? What about, you know, how do we help someone who's trying to fill out a Medicaid, you know, application? You know, I don't know anything about Medicaid applications. You know, so we don't try to be the expert on everything. We just try to know where those resources are. And direct them. Yeah, for sure.
So we know COVID time, it did probably hit everybody, not only nonprofit and businesses, and because I consider for myself nonprofit, any organization is a business like us. There is no difference. Can you? How is this year coming to you guys? And do you have any goal for the next 2 years? What's going on?
Yeah.
You know.
Well, you know, COVID was interesting for us because we in the past had never written a check, right? That's not what we do.
Yeah.
We connect with our faith organizations and other organizations, and we advocate for families. We may call up a faith organization and say, hey, we have this family, this is what's going on with them, can you contribute $200 to keep the lights on, right, pre-COVID? So I got a call right at the beginning of COVID, right before everything was starting to shut down, from Amy Owens over at the Community Foundation of Loudoun in northern Fauquier counties, which is always a scary word to say in public. And she said, you know, we've got $25,000 that we would like you to help us distribute to families that are going to be affected by our 2-week close down, right? The 2 weeks.
That's what's
the famous 2 weeks.
At the beginning.
Or I should say infamous 2 weeks. And also Visit Loudoun has a fund that they would like to help with hospitality. And at the time, I was the only full-time. We had a part-time person on the call center. We were struggling like everybody else, you know, to try to figure out what we're going to do. And I told her, let me think about it, and, you know, because just bandwidth-wise, and we had never done that before. So when I came back, I talked to my board, and I said, yeah, we have to do it. Of course we have to do it, but I was just trying to think, how do we do it? And she said, why don't you partner? Why don't we bring in Catholic Charities? They're used to writing the checks. Like, they can write the checks. We can all come together and be able to, you know, have a central line where people could call in for assistance. And so that's what we did. We brought them into our system.
Awesome.
We taught them the system. They taught us all about vouchers and how, you know, what they need and all that kind of stuff. And we partnered with them throughout until October 2021, when we took over the program exclusively. And sort of that whole period of time up to today, we've been able to collaborate, either distribute ourselves or secure funding for $1.6 million in rent and utilities assistance.
That's a great accomplishment.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was a blur. The whole 2 years was a blur, but we were really excited that we were able to bring, you know, our faith communities, other organizations, Catholic charities in, you know, all of us to work together for the better good of the community. What we're facing now is as we start to move out of, well, you know, depending on your train of thought, are we moving out of COVID? Are we learning to live with it, right? And I think a little bit of both.
And there is changes on everything, you know, after you feel like the life, it's not the same how it was. We're trying to survive all, and, you know, we did a lot of adjustment, us as a business, and I'm sure you guys and anybody own business. It's not the same like before, so we do understand. No. You're still trying to figure out.
Yeah, well, because, you know, think about everything that's happened over the 2 years, right? Yeah. And the fact that now just inflation itself, the prices of gas, the prices of food, like that's an
the supply chain.
In the supply chain, that's an indirect, in my mind, effect of what happened as a global pandemic. You know, we've talked about before in different groups about that this is not, it's not a quick fix, it's not a light you turn off. You can't just turn COVID off, right? It's still there. We have to learn how to live with it, but we also have to learn to live with the after effects of it. And those things like they are related. And when you're a family that's living on the edge to begin with, and you are not only living paycheck to paycheck, but you're living a paycheck or two behind, and then something like this happens, you know, the devastation, even though we had the rent relief program, we were doing, you know, rent in the beginning, and then we turned to electricity, you know, like utilities, and you know, all of the nonprofits like kicked up all of their services. It's leaving a lasting effect. We're getting calls of people that still have not been able to pay their rent for 3 or 4 months. And now we don't really have a lot of big resources to help them with that. And so, you know, we sort of have seen this over the 2 years and know that all those bills that have been kind of kicked, we like to call it kicking the can down the street, are coming to an end now. And rightly so, you know, that's not to say, you know, businesses have done everything they can, but they have a business, they have families to feed as well. We totally get that, you know. But we're gonna see, in my mind, we're gonna see a huge shift in families that are struggling to find housing, families that are struggling to stay in the houses they have, or they're getting kicked out because we're working with a senior who, you know, they decided not to renew her lease, you know, because she's had a tough time, and she's, you know, we've been helping her with rent relief program, but that program, the state program, is closed now, and there's no support for her. And so it's just what do we do with these families? Where do we move them? You know, that's a big discussion point in Loudoun right now. Is you know, I know the Community Foundation is doing a campaign for workforce housing. Yeah, and you know,
it's an awesome program. It's wonderful.
And it's needed. You know, all of us that live in Loudoun enjoy it, right? We love Loudoun. We love the area. We feel safe here. We feel our kids are safe here. You know, and so why wouldn't people want to live here? But we can't. You know, we need to be able to support everybody, not, you know. And so that's a whole nother hour topic, but and which I am not an expert on by any means. But so our goal, that was a long way to come around to your question, which was our goal for this year.
We love what you're sharing, and thank you for sharing everything.
Yes, I'm full of opinions, but you know, you get what you pay for. So, you know, our big goal is to be able to establish our own assistance fund through Loudoun Cares. We've not, like I said, we weren't writing checks before. Yeah. Right. That was not what we did. But the pandemic has shown us that it's important for us to have that ability and that flexibility. We're much, as nonprofits, we're much more nimble to be able to help somebody right away and have that support right away. And sometimes it's a process, and sometimes, you know, and unfortunately, either because they don't know about a nonprofit, or they're hoping something else will change, or they're ignoring the problem, for
Or where to
a
go.
number of
Some
thousand
people,
reasons.
They don't know where to go.
They don't know where to go.
Yeah.
We get a lot of people that come that are, you know, their electricity is getting shut off tonight, or they're getting kicked out tomorrow, or they have
The
a
cell
board
phone
date.
bill, maybe.
Yeah, they're getting kicked out in 3 days. You know, so we have to be able to move quickly, but also we have to take our time in the process to be able to vet them, make sure it is a legitimate need, and to make sure that there's not some other program that they're missing, right? Some other connection that they're missing. And so it becomes kind of a fine dance sometimes to be able to help somebody, you know, and we get calls from people who, you know, it's stuff we don't do, right? That's not our wheelhouse. Yeah, and so sometimes we have to kind of think creatively of how can we help them? Where can we get, you know, what is the main thing? Yeah, what can we help with? You know, we had to make a phone call to the non-emergency number to have a sheriff go out and check on a senior that we were really worried about because the neighbor had called. And, you know, we can't go out there ourselves. We're not trained to go out there, although we want to. Like we're holding the agents back. No, you cannot go out there, you know. So what could we do? Well, what we could do is we could get her lights back on. She had not had her electricity on for 2 weeks. So she had no food, she had no electricity, she's all on her own. And we were able to call Dominion and talk to them. They said, if we know that they're working with you, we'll turn the lights back on. And then we figured out the funding, and we were able to get a church to cover the $1,500 bill to get our lights back on. So we do a lot of problem
It's a lot
solving.
of work too. I mean, the problem solving to figure out and contact who you need to contact, and that's wow, this is amazing.
It's a lot about that, you know, I know a guy or a gal, right? That's what when the agents call and they go, okay, what do I do? And I'm like, wait, okay, let's call this person, you know. And then if it's not them.
So you gotta tell me
how
many business cards you have on your database.
So many. Everyone I meet, I think, But my memory is not as good as it used to be, so I meet people and then like 3 months later I'm like, I know I met somebody that does that, and then I have to like rewind and figure out where I found them, but yeah.
So Valerie, just tell us, like, the listener and us, how can we help? What can we help you guys? It seems like you do a lot to the community, and thank you for everything. How can we help? How can the listener can help, and where they need to go? Like, can you give us at least the phone number and
Sure.
the website?
Yeah. So the easiest way, I mean, there's so many different ways to help, to be honest, like different ways to get involved. The most simple way, go on our social media, share our content, get the word out when we put requests out for things, and follow our events. Come to our events. We're doing, we do the Outstanding Volunteer Awards every year, where we get to recognize hundreds, almost thousands of volunteers, which is amazing. It's one of my favorite events.
And there is an event coming up too. Right?
There is. So October is our art auction. So that's where the Nove partners out of the CIT building on 28, they are hosting us there again this year. And we highlight local artists, and we do an auction, and they donate pieces, and we can sign pieces. We have, food from different vendors throughout the county. We have music and, other refreshments. And it's just a really great time, and it's turned into a really fun event. So we're always, looking for people not only to attend, but businesses to sponsor, of course. We are working with the Afghan families over at the National Conference Center.
By the way, thank you for doing that. You were talking
Well, we were asked to head up a task force to sort of coordinate these unmet needs, right? Things like diapers and changing pads for the kids, toys for the kids, clothes for the men and the women. Right now we have a need for infant strollers, and size zero diapers, for infants, because we've got families that are coming in with infants, or are pregnant and ready to give birth. So we've sort of coordinated and brought in other nonprofits. Mosaic has been generous enough to purchase items for us. Loudoun Hunger Relief has gotten their big truck and they're helping us to move product over there. Women Giving Back have been amazing. They're helping with clothing and things like that. And so just different, Leesburg Church, they're sort of our drop-off point as well. But we created an Amazon wish list. It's on our website, so you can go on to loudouncares.org and just go into the menu and it'll say help our Afghan families. And you can go on there. There's an Amazon wish list that you can purchase stuff. It'll get mailed directly to the National Conference Center. Or there's also a button to donate if you're like, well, I don't, you know, I trust you guys to purchase what you need. Then that 100% of that goes to purchase product for the families. So there's those ways to get involved. Or go on the Volunteer Center at volunteer.loudouncares.org. Volunteer.
We love volunteer time too.
Yeah, there's lots of ways to get involved with us because we're always trying to find new ways to connect people and you know, we come up these little projects kind of come our way and we try to do what we can. We're a small staff. We just doubled our workforce as of May. We now have 2 full-time people. So I was the only full-time person until this May, and then we have several part-time people that help answer phones and volunteer. We have a wonderful volunteer who gives of her time. She used to work for us years ago when I first came on, and she's kind of come back to us as a volunteer, which has been lovely. And so, yeah, we're just always looking to connect with even companies that want to give back to the community, and we can help them with their community brand and talk to them about what is their passion, you know, and what is their identity in the community, and how can we support that for them.
Yeah.
And so we just find ways to kind of touch everybody in the county. Ultimately, you know, we have something for everyone, right?
Yeah.
Something for everyone.
Yep. So the website is loudouncares.org,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
And can you share with us the phone number if somebody needs help and they need to contact you guys?
Yes. So to get a hold of Connect Line, it's 703-669-4636. So you call, you will have to leave a message because our agents are we have part-time agents. They sometimes are on the phone an hour and a half with a client, trying to figure out how best to help them and assist them. So we just ask people to leave a message and to be patient with us, and to set up their mailbox. Make sure that we can leave a message so they know we're calling them back. So yeah, so that's how they get a hold of us.
Thank you very much, Valerie. This was so great information, and thank you for everything you do, guys, because you seem, connecting with the other non-profit organizations. This is something awesome and amazing, because there is some people, even if they move to here and they're living here, they don't know where to go and how to start.
Yeah.
So this is something very, 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 special what you do, guys.
Thank you. Well, I want to take the opportunity to thank you, because you guys, everything that I've learned today about how you give back to the community, that is something that organizations, businesses should think about emanating. I'll probably use that word wrong, but those fancy words. But you're a great example of how a business, a small business, can use their business to help other people outside of the business. And it's amazing, and that's what we're all about, right? We have to work together. We have to, our nonprofits, our government, our corporations, our faith organizations, all of those, the individuals have to come together to support a community. It truly takes a village.
Because believe me, there is people in need in different areas, but there is people in need.
We don't see them a lot. It's hard to find, people think they don't exist in Loudoun County, but you can ask any nonprofit leader that's been through COVID who are exhausted, and they know they exist because they've had to double their forces to try to help provide for them and get them back on the right track. And so they're out there. And so, yeah.
So thank you again, Valerie, for your time. I know you are very busy, so thank you for your time and thank you for sharing everything with us.
Thank you. Thanks for
Wish you luck. Okay, good luck on those 2 events for this year.
Thank you. Appreciate it.